Okay, folks, we're continuing right into our next set of problems, beginning with number 10. Number 10 says write this expression in interval notation. So what that means is -4 is to the left, 10 is to the right. Remember, the 10 is not included. That's a parenthesis, and the 4 is not the -4 is not included. So the answer would be everything in between here. And the way I would write that in interval notation is just parentheses, -4, 10, and then parentheses. Okay. Sometimes my computer messes up, and that happened there, so be patient with that. Okay, question number 11. Find the distance between 6, 3 and -2, 7. This is how I would do this problem number 11. I would set your little frame up, okay? Now we're going to do in order 6 minus -2. 6 minus -2. And then we're going to go 3 minus 7. 3 minus 7. All right, so we know that this is 8 squared. We know that that is -4. -4 squared. Okay? So this is going to be, let me move my, okay, so this is going to be square root of 64 plus 16. That's the square root of 70, and 10 is 80. Okay, now, if there's multiple choice and that was one of the answers, that'd be wrong, so we need to simplify. See, I know 4 goes into that, but 16 goes into that 5 times. So that's 16 times 5. That would be radical 16 and radical 5, so 4 radical 5, final answer. Now, the toughest problem in this section is number 12. So it's an equation. All right, so I have x over 2 plus x over 3 is equal to, I'm just going to do this and say 5 over 1 minus 7x over 6. You can call this an equation with fractions if you want to. The easiest way to do this is to multiply everybody by the common denominator. The common denominator is 6. So let me just do this in a different color. Try to do this in a different color. So again, I'm multiplying everybody by 6. I'm multiplying that by 6. I'm multiplying that by 6, that by 6, and that by 6. Now when I do that, then I get to divide out. This is 3, so 3x, plus this 3 goes into that 2, so that's 2x is equal to, we'll just say 30 minus the 6 is divided out, so that's minus 7x. Now it's an equation that makes a little bit more sense to you. We could put these guys together right here. I move the coefficient that's further to the left on the number line, that's this number right here. I'm going to add 7x to 5x and get 12x. That's equal to 30. X is equal to 30 over 12. And I believe 6 goes into that 5. 6 goes into that 2. 5 over 2 or 2.5. Okay, hope that helps. All right, so I copied down number 13. And I gave you a shortcut. You could use FOIL if you want to, but square the first, 9x squared. Multiply them together and double, that's plus 12x. And then plus 4. Of course, we want to multiply this out. You want to distribute that 9. And 9 times 3 is 27. X minus 45. Okay, now notice in this problem we have 9x squared on both sides. We could wipe that out. Now notice 12 is further to the left than the 27, so I'm going to move that over here. 12, that's going to be 1, 5. That's 15x. I'm going to move the 45 and add the 45 and the 4. That would be 49. So here we have x is equal to 49 over 15. Nothing you could do with that but write that fraction. All right, next question. On number 14, if we look very carefully over here, we'll notice it's a quadratic. 12x squared minus 17x minus 5 is equal to 0. All right, so let me show the setup. Okay, here's a way to do a problem like this. This is more complicated trinomials. Take the first number and put it here. Multiply the first number by the 5. Okay, so that's going to be a negative 50, negative 60. Now, here's the question. I'm looking for two numbers that multiply, give me negative 60, add, and give me negative 17. Negative 17. Well, immediately, I'm thinking about 20 and 3. Okay? Now, you do that a few times and you get it. It's not a big problem. Okay, or negative 20 and 3, a plus 3. That would be the combination that works. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the 12. I'm going to put in x. I'm going to do plus 3 on 1. And then I'm going to do 12x. And then I'm going to do a minus 20 on another. And what I'll do is I'll find a number that goes into both of them. This is 3 and that's 4 that goes into both of those. Notice 3 times 4 is 12. And when I divide 3 into this, I get 4x plus 1. And then I get 3x minus 5. And sure enough, if you multiply that out, you would get that trinomial, which I think is very interesting. But anyway, you're going to solve this, set this equal to 0, this binomial, and you're going to get x is equal to negative 1 over 4. You're going to set this equal to 0. You're going to have x is equal to 5 over 3. And that's how you do question number 14. Question 15. Remember, there's a 1 right here, right? So I'm going to put a 1 here. A is equal to 4. B is equal to a positive 1. C is equal to negative 1. You have your trusty quadratic formula, and you're going to plug that in. The reason why we do this is it doesn't factor. So anyway, negative b would be negative 1 plus or minus square root b squared, which is 1 minus 4. Now here's how I do it. I leave that ac there, and then I multiply a times c. That's a negative 4. Negative 4. All over 2a, which is 8. Now I'm going to clean this up. I call this going on a commercial break here. Let's see. That's 1 plus 16, and so that's radical 17. Now, returning to our regularly scheduled problem there. Okay, so the answers are negative 1 plus or minus radical 17 over 8. Okay? All right, let's look at this other problem. Okay, so if you notice here, I took the problem and I copied the problem, and then I distributed the terms there on the outside to the items inside the parenthesis. Now let's clean it up. Here I have 12x plus 11, and here I have 7x, well, actually, I have 5x, no, actually, I have 9x minus 14. Again, I'm going to move this over here, that's going to be 3x. I'm going to move the 11 over here. Negative 14 minus 11 is negative 25. Okay, then here's my symbol. And I'm going to divide by 3, so x is equal to negative 25 over 3. Now remember, when you multiply or divide by a negative, you kind of have to take the sign and switch the order. Remember that is important. Okay, so if you notice on the left side, I just rewrote the compound inequality here, 12x minus 3. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to add 3 to each section here. And I'm going to have 12x is greater than or equal to negative 3, that's 12x, less than or equal to 3. And we're going to divide by 12. When I divide everybody by 12, I have the following. x is greater than or equal to negative 1/4 and less than or equal to 1/4. Okay, so there's your answer. I know some of you had a little trouble with this type of problem, so I want to take a moment and maybe go through it. I'm looking for two factors that multiply and give me the negative 10 and that add together and give me the 3, so I have it there. Now, I got to find my critical numbers. These are your critical numbers. So I take my number line, I divide it up into 3 sections, okay? Now I'm going to do a test value, negative 6, 0, and 3. When I plug in the test values here, I'll be able to see if it's positive or negative, and then I'll be able to tell if it's true or false over here. Let's just do an easy one, 0. If I plug in the 0, in here I get a plus 5, that's just going to be a plus. If I plug in a 0, I get a negative. A positive times a negative is a negative. Now what am I looking for? I'm looking for less than 0, so that's yes. In other words, the 0 is true and everybody's true in this region right here. Okay. Now by the way, can I include the n values? No, because it can't be equal to 0. So that's like, we're just going to say an open circle, okay? Now let's do the negative 6. Negative 6 would be negative times a negative. That's a positive. That's a no. Let's put a 3 in there. That's going to be an 8 times a 1. Well, actually a positive times a positive, which is a positive. That's a no as well. So I'm going to do a parenthesis. I'm going to do a parenthesis, and everybody in between here is my solution. So negative 5 to 2. And that's how I'd write that. Okay, here's 19. It's just an evaluate problem. Remember, we're going to have to do this part first. 1 minus 5 is negative 4. A negative 4 times a negative 4 is a plus 16. 23 plus 16 inside the absolute value. That's going to be 39. And the absolute value of 39 is 39. All right, question number 20. Define the function and be able to recognize the equation for a function. Well, I have this in a video on the definition of a function, and I do encourage you to look at it. It's at the end of lesson 9 and in the beginning of lesson 10, 10.1. Basically, a function is any relationship in which the domain value does not have two different y values. Here the 2 is related to 3 and 14. That is not a function. If that was 2, 3, and 5, 3, that would be a different question, because even though the y is the same, the x's are different. So keep that in mind. This one would be a function. Keep that in mind. Okay, so look at my videos on the circles if you need help with this problem. 21. What is the center and radius of the circle? Now, it's of this form right here. So the center is at h comma k. And if you look up here, I see an x plus 3. X plus 3, so h must be negative 3. And up here I see y minus 5, so the k must be 5. That is the center. Now, the r squared is the radius, but r squared is equal to 36. That's a general form. And so r is the square root of 36, which is 6. All right, let's try 22. If the center of a circle is 4 comma negative 6 and the radius is equal to 7, what is the equation of the circle in standard form and general form? All right, so we're going to use this formula right here, and we're just simply going to plug in the values. Okay, it's really the distance formula. It's really basically what it is. So this is going to be, here's my x. My x is 4. So x minus 4 squared plus y plus 6, because it's minus a negative 6, is equal to 7 squared, which is 49. So that's called standard form. So the question said, could you write that equation in standard form, again, standard form, and general form? For general form, I just multiplied it all out, and I put the x squared and y squared term together, then the x term, then the y term, then a constant equals 0. So there you go. That's how you do those questions up to 22.